May 3rd, 1999 was a historic day for the community.
Folks, we are talking about potentially, it looks to be an F4 tornado, winds over 200 miles an hour, and it continues to pull toward the left, which is going to take it more into Midwest City.
I just remember the weathermen saying, you have to get underground. You have to get underground. This thing is so big, you have to get underground.
As it approached Midwest City, it was more of an EF4, nothing to take lightly.
I was the on-duty supervisor for the city, or for the Midwest City Police Department that night. I left the station and went westbound on Reno. As I got to Reno and Air Depot, I could see the tornado.
76 headquarters, I've got a tornado on the ground, Air Depot and Reno possibly.
Along with other debris falling out of the air, there was a 2x4 that came down across the hood of my car. At that point in time, the reality struck that it was going to be a long night for us.
The first damage that occurred in Midwest City was the Tinker Business Industrial Park. It went to the Hudiburg auto dealership and had damaged about 800 vehicles and destroyed a lot of them, and more than 40 vehicles were thrown across the interstate into the hotels across Interstate 40.
We lost a couple apartment complexes, numerous businesses, 4 hotels. It was just massive devastation.
And at that point, it continued to go almost straight north. And that's where all the other businesses and the homes were destroyed.
I've never seen anything like that. We had homes that were totally gone. Nothing there but the slab.
The homes where they were completely devastated, and then it's almost like a few feet away, a house would be left untouched. It was devastation on just down the middle, and then just left untouched at certain parts of it, and just seeing people's personal belongings scattered around.
It was unrecognizable. No street signs, you couldn't orient yourself to where you were at other than from experience and being in the areas, but it was just total devastation.
The parts that were hit, it wasn't just like their house was damaged a little bit. Their house looked like it had exploded.
Unfortunately, we had 4 of our citizens perish that day.
I think the first responders did a great job. They were dedicated. We had some folks that lost their homes that were out there doing their job, and they got word that their home's lost, but they just kept doing their job. And that's the kind of dedication we have. The volunteers were unbelievable. I mean, we had churches and different organizations that were down there feeding the first responders.
A tornado like that brought out the best in people. There were people that were inviting people that lost their homes to stay with them that they didn't even know. You saw the worst in a storm, but you also saw the best in the people.
The leadership of our council and our city manager at that point in time that looked at it and said, we're gonna survive this, and we're gonna make something better than what we had before.
I think we started thinking, how do we start cleaning this mess up?
FEMA had their plan for cleanup. We did our own. We did it cheaper, we did it better. We contracted almost immediately with some local companies to start hauling stuff out and cleaning up where we could. FEMA came in, they asked for different reports because our city staff was so prepared for that kind of accident. They had done everything FEMA asked for. They just handed it to FEMA. And FEMA looked at it and said, we're gonna go to another city, you guys have it together. So our city staff was just tremendous.
One of the other major issues that we dealt with had to do with, okay, how are these existing neighborhoods that have been so heavily impacted, how are we going to make sure that they are redeveloped properly and don't negatively impact the balance of the neighborhoods that weren't damaged. And so, because we had a lot of people coming in saying, well, I'm just going to move a trailer in, or I'm going to just put an RV in there. And so we ended up going through the process of establishing some specific development standards for the redevelopment in those areas.
The city went out and got all those grants for all those storm shelters that are all over the community. I mean, it's numbers in the thousands of how many shelters that we have now.
Probably the best thing a city council can do in something like that is get out of the way. We let the professionals do their job. That's the best thing an elected official can do, is trust who they've got. And Midwest City just had and still does have a great city staff.
Immediately after the tornado and for the weeks ahead, the city of Midwest City took a very aggressive lead in trying to bring back some normalcy to our city. It was vital that we get back to normal, and on a number of different fronts. We lost a significant amount of businesses and retail outlets that needed to be replaced, and so through the leadership that we had in place, they started working on a plan to ensure that Midwest City was economically sound for the future. Just like anything, you have to have a vision to move forward. And fortunately, the leadership that was in place immediately after the tornado had a vision.
There had been a significant interest already before the tornado in terms of trying to build a small conference center. And the thoughts were, well, maybe we'll include that as part of the redevelopment of our town center area. And that morning when we went out and looked at the area where the tornado had gone through, it had damaged all of our hotels in the hospitality district. It just seemed like the right thing to do to make a commitment to encourage the hotels within the area to reinvest.
A lot of the hotels did come back and decide to rebuild with bigger and better facilities. And then in 2006, we cut the ribbon on the Reed Center and opened it up, and it's just been an economic engine again for us ever since.
The conference center brings thousands of people to Midwest City every year. They stay in our hotels, they shop in our restaurants, and it's really a source of pride to be able to have a facility like that.
We turned that bad into good, good for the city, good for tourism.
Along with the vision for the Reed Center, our city leaders went forward with a very aggressive plan to assemble enough land and to start a new retail area, which is now known as Midwest City Town Center.
And I think the success of the conference center and doing that project has bled over into the 29th Street project, which has bled over into North Oaks project, and bled over into the original Mile project.
The Reed Center, the hospitality district, Town Center Plaza are so important to the city. We want to have the very best, and we want to be the best. And for a city of just under 60,000 in population to have those amenities is very unusual, and we've done a great job at creating those opportunities and maintaining those.
We've got some exciting developments that may be coming out of the ground within the next 5 years that are going to be models for the rest of the state. We're excited about it, and just like anybody, we have to continue to have a vision and move toward that vision, and we have to identify exactly where we want to go.
There are so many things that were built as a result of the city's action following the storms that really make Midwest City the great city that it is today.